Back before we had TikTok, complete with its never-ending stream of dangerous trends, such as the NyQuil Chicken Challenge for one, we had FM radio, and in 2007, at a radio station in Sacramento, California, we had stuff like the Hold Your Wii for a Nintendo Wii contest. And yes, this contest was absolutely as stupid as it sounds, as you're about to see for yourself. The Hold Your Wii for a Wii contest was more or less exactly what its title implies. In essence, a handful of lucky contestants were promised that whoever could basically down a bunch of water and then go the longest without peeing would walk away with a proud new parent of a brand new Nintendo Wii, a family-friendly gaming console which at that time was retailing for about $250. Oh, and just in case it wasn't clear, at the end of the day, there could, of course, only be one winner. Now, I'm willing to bet that for most average people, this would seem like a relatively harmless stunt. Decidedly a bit vacuous, but ultimately not a big deal. You drink some water, hold your pee. Surely there were worse things in this world you could be out doing to yourself. And when 28-year-old Rancho Cordova resident Jennifer Strange heard about this competition of sorts, it's likely that she thought of it rather similarly. Also, as a mother to 3 young children, Jennifer knew if she could somehow manage to end up actually winning this thing, the looks on her kids' faces when she showed them the grand prize would make any uncomfortable moment absolutely worth it. It wasn't just the $250 price tag that would make it so coveted, but word has it that at that time, the Wii was also practically unobtainable in North America. And so, when she was selected to be one of the contest's final participants, as far as Jennifer was concerned, a free Wii just to hold your pee for a few hours, she was down. The date was January 12, 2007, when eager contestants would head over to KDND FM, the station that was sponsoring the contest. Also known as 107.9 The End, KDND was owned by Entercom Communications based in Philadelphia, and the show holding the contest was called The Morning Rave.
We're going to start it at 6:20, and then every 10 minutes, you guys are going to drink, I think it's 8 ounces of water. Yep.
Probably safe to assume that while the station employees were briefing her and other fellow participants on how the contest would go down, nobody present had even the slightest hint at how such an anticipatory morning would, within a matter of over a few hours, culminate in absolute disaster.
Hey, we're giving out the Nintendo Wii tomorrow morning. Are you ready?
Absolutely. It's for my wife.
Are you a good holder?
I think so.
And so, it was on that morning, sometime around 6:30 a.m., that 17 eager contestants would pile into a room at Sacramento's KDND headquarters. After being patted down and thoroughly searched for any contraband, such as adult diapers, each one was handed their first of what would be many more 8-ounce bottles of water to drink. With that, the Hold Your Wii for a Wii contest had officially commenced. And as touched on, the rules were relatively straightforward. Every 15 minutes, contestants would be given another 8-ounce bottle of water, which they were required to consume in its entirety. If anyone failed or refused to drink it all, they would be disqualified. If anyone threw up, they would also be automatically disqualified. And of course, anyone that went to the bathroom would be disqualified as well. Naturally, contestants would start dropping out as time wore on. One contestant, James Ibarra, said he was able to consume just 5 8-ounce bottles before his bladder couldn't take it any longer. Contestants would later divulge that quitting often meant that they would be taunted by the DJs. This could speculatively have worked to keep the remaining contestants pushing themselves beyond their limits, afraid of dropping out and being ridiculed. And yet the hosts also knew that a winner would need to be announced within the duration of the show's own time slot. James recalls that at one point, once he was already out of the running, in the spirit of speeding things along, contestants would be required to increase their water consumption at a rather alarming rate. The first new rule would force contestants to empty the contents of each new bottle in under 2 minutes. Next, they would start to give contestants drinks at 10 rather than at 15-minute intervals. And last but not least, bottle sizes would increase as well. From 8 ounces to 16 ounces, those still in the running had to consume double the amount they were previously taking in, and all in a much shorter amount of time. This was, of course, just one of the many things that later would be seen to indicate the station's prioritization of entertainment and ratings over the safety of their own contestants. Besides being forced to swallow these increasingly obscene portions of water, the contestants also had spent nearly their entire time under the watchful eye of a station intern and cut off from the rest of the world. In other words, none of the contestants were able to hear the on-air discussions taking place, and this included the comments made by people calling in. And, as it would turn out, the show would receive its share of concerned calls. One of these calls came from a woman who identified herself as Eva Brooks.
I want to say that that those people that are drinking all that water can get sick and possibly die from water intoxication.
Yeah, we're aware of that. They signed releases, so we're not responsible. It's okay.
And this is pretty much the way it would go. Anytime anyone would attempt to discuss the issue in any remotely serious fashion, the response would always be in the vein of brushing it off with yet another tasteless, sophomoric attempt at humor.
They signed releases, so we're not responsible. It's okay.
And if they get to the point where they have to throw up, then they're going to throw up and they're out of the contest before they die. So that's good, right?
Oh, that's neat. I suppose so.
Yeah. All right. How come you guys didn't do it?
Thanks for looking out, though.
because we don't want to die.
Oh, okay. Let me ask Carter if anybody's dying.
We ain't dying.
Hey, Carter, is anybody dying in there?
We got a guy just about to die.
Oh, good. Make sure you sign that we laugh at that. Yeah.
Make sure he signs the release.
Get the insurance on that, please.
As much as this DJ seemed to love joking about the waiver freeing them of liability, one of the real problems was the fact that these contestants had not at any point, either via waiver nor in any other fashion, been informed of the potential dangers they faced by taking part in this contest. To make matters worse, when the water intake had been increased and the contestants had begun to feel increasingly more and more sick, when any of them, Jennifer included, expressed concern over this, they were not only kept from knowing the truth, i.e. that water intoxication could be fatal, but they were in fact reassured that death could not occur as the result of drinking water. There's one point where, on the recording of the event, the female DJ can be heard musing aloud, "Can you get water poisoning and die?" To which one of the male DJs is quick to respond, "Not with water. Your body's 98% water. Why can't you take in as much water as you want?" After that, the female DJ then follows up with the admission that maybe we should have researched this before. Jennifer herself, along with others, had been all but sworn before anyone could reach a dangerous level of water intake, their brain would first and foremost instruct their body to throw up. And it stood to reason if you hadn't thrown up yet, you had nothing to worry about, no matter how sick you felt. In other words, you'd always puke before you died. That's what they were told. Putting yourself in the shoes of Jennifer and all these other contestants, it shouldn't be very difficult to understand why they trusted what the radio station employees told them was true. In this kind of a scenario, the station was in a position of power. It was their contest. They made the rules, and they had the power to enforce them. As is normal in human psychology, each individual naturally just fell into their assigned roles. Radio talent being the authority figures were assumed to know most about what was going on, and the contestants pretty much just trusting that what they said was true. The thing is that, especially at this time, the idea of death by water overdose was practically unheard of. It shouldn't have been expected that any of those contestants came in knowing that water poisoning, or hyponatremia, as it's more officially called, was a real thing that they should be concerned about. That the station employees bothered to spend even a few minutes looking into it, they would most likely have been astounded at what they learned. Water intoxication, or hyponatremia, as it's formally called, is not only a real complication of excess water consumption, it is also quite commonly fatal. When a person consumes a large quantity of water at a rate faster than their body is able to properly absorb, this causes their blood plasma to become dilute, which essentially means that the excess water lowers the blood sodium levels.
Electrolytes circulate in our bodies, the most common, sodium. Consuming too much water can dilute the electrolyte levels in our blood. To rebalance these levels, cells absorb the excess water, making them swell, which can have lethal consequences.
With the kidneys not being able to filter out so much water so quickly, the blood becomes backed up with excess water, resulting in leakage of said water into surrounding cells. And when the water leaks out inside a person's brain and into surrounding brain cells, this causes the person's brain to swell. The person's skull, however, does not expand to accommodate this swelling, and in that sense, it traps the brain inside of it. When the brain no longer has room to continue expanding, this extreme pressure eventually may result in seizure, coma, and, as is sadly often the case, death.
Oh, dude.
Can't you get water poisoning and die?
Your body is 98% water. Why can't you take in as much water as you want?
I don't know.
Though, because that poor kid is college.
I know.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, well, he was doing other things.
Maybe we should have researched this
I don't know.
before.
I mean...
Quite damningly, in that last bit of audio, 3 DJs can all be heard acknowledging that they had prior knowledge of water intoxication to some extent due to the passing mention of a young man they refer to as that poor kid in college. Long story short, at a college in Chico, not too far north of Sacramento, a fraternity pledge by the name of Matthew Carrington had made headlines recently following his death, which was attributed to hyponatremia due to a hazing gone wrong. One male DJ can be heard, again, just quickly dismissing the subject and without any basis making the assertion that Carrington was quote-unquote doing other things. For the record, such a claim has no basis that anyone has ever known, and Carrington's death was dismissed to be unequivocally the result of water poisoning, plain and simple.
What happened as you started drinking more water? Did you start feeling sick?
Yes, absolutely. I started feeling a little sick to my stomach, kind of a little shaky. I soon was not able to stand up. I kind of, I sat on the floor for a little bit, and as I drank more, I was feeling more sick to my stomach, very full, very bloated, to the point that, I did need to throw up.
Time and again, Jennifer's own cries for help were dismissed as no big deal. At one point, she informs the hosts about the discomfort in her abdomen, only to hear one of the DJs crack a joke about how her distended belly makes her look like she's pregnant. After that, the female DJ Trish giggles and remarks, "That's so funny." The most common symptoms of hyponatremia include but are not limited to nausea, cramping, headache, and mental confusion. In hindsight, Jennifer seemed to already be experiencing most, if not all, of the top signs indicative of water intoxication while she was still there at the station. By late morning, any semi-careful observer might have noticed a change in Jennifer's disposition as well. Only a couple hours ago, she'd been openly joking around with the staff and chatting it up with the other competitors. Now she seemed to be having considerable difficulty even trying to engage in normal conversation. And then there was naturally the pain itself.
Jennifer, I heard that you're not doing too well.
My head hurts. They keep telling me that it's the water, that it'll tell my head to hurt and then it'll make me puke. But
who told you that? The intern?
Yeah.
That's one of those over there.
It hurts, but it makes you feel lightheaded. So I'm not sure if I'm just like.
This is what it feels like when you're drowning. There's a lot of water inside of you.
Oh, it hurts.
One needs only to hear her voice to realize that there were at least times in which Jennifer truly felt worried about her physical state. But despite how terrible she must have been feeling inside, the relaxed, nonchalant attitudes of the station staff probably served to put Jennifer at a sense of false ease. While it's arguable that part of a contestant's altered mindset could be the result of cognitive impairment brought about by water intoxication itself, it's also very much human nature. You simply just tend to believe that if you're in a situation where there's reason for alarm, then people around you are naturally going to be acting alarmed. And since they weren't, well, it seems like in a sick way, all of this vapid joshing amid a scene where all around them people were complaining of headaches and regurgitating into wastebaskets did provide her and the others with the false reassurance that nothing could truly be wrong. But regardless, come about 9:15 a.m., the contest would at last be down to its final two contestants, Jennifer and another woman by the name of Lucy Davidson. At this point, the DJs would start trying to get either woman to drop out by bribing them with a pair of Justin Timberlake tickets. When the focus turned to Jennifer, she politely declined, insisting that she come with her heart set on taking home the Wii.
Who is this, Jennifer?
This is Jennifer.
Jennifer, what's the situation about Justin Timberlake tonight?
I don't want to. I want the Wii.
You do want the Wii?
I was tempted. I was really, really tempted, and everyone's going to hate me forever.
Except as luck would have it, Jennifer would be the next one sent diving for the nearest trash can when finally, as much as she had endured, when given the choice between yet another 16-ounce bottle of water or anything else, her body finally informed her that it had had enough. Even after a winner and runner-up had been officially declared, however, the women still were not allowed to go and relieve themselves just yet. It was of course more important that PR matters first be tended to, that prizes be handed out, sound bites be captured, and that goofy photographs be taken with the whole big happy crew. In one of the last photos ever taken of Jennifer, she can be seen standing with the crew of the morning rave, trying very hard to even force a smile while she's being instructed to show off her consolation prize, i.e. that same pair of Justin Timberlake tickets that nobody had any interest in before. The contest winner, Lucy Davidson, would go on to state that after finally being given the go-ahead to go use the facilities, she encountered Jennifer Strange in the restroom. But oddly enough, the two of them didn't say a single word to each other, and this was for the plain fact that they were physically unable to. As bad as Jennifer was feeling, she clearly wasn't the only one. While Jennifer could be heard in one of the nearby stalls urinating, gagging, and throwing up, Lucy states that the sound of it incited her to do the same. And so she did. And afterward, when she was finally feeling up to it to attempt standing up, she recalls being hit by a sudden wave of lightheadedness so hard that it caused her to literally fall to her knees. And she too was suffering from an unbelievable headache that she says was so bad there weren't even words to describe it. The best she could liken it to was, like, quote unquote, the worst hangover ever. Soon after that brief yet odd encounter in the restroom, Jennifer would be seen leaving the station in a state that a witness described as still terribly disoriented. She was also having noticeable problems with her balance. DJ Manny would later testify to escorting her back to her car, at which point she told him, "I don't think I'm ready to go home yet." What Jennifer sadly didn't know at the time is that things would never get any better.
Over an hour before the launch of Nintendo's highly anticipated Wii. We're standing here in the middle of Times Square, and I gotta tell you, the crowd is absolutely crazy. Thousands of fans have gathered since early this afternoon, probably as early as the beginning of the week, waiting for a chance to get their Nintendo Wii.
Over the course of about 3 hours, Jennifer Leah Strange, the 28-year-old mother of three, had consumed an estimated 2 gallons of water. Another competitor, Jennifer Windsor, would corroborate seeing Miss Strange take in 8 8-ounce bottles and then 10 16-ounce bottles after that. Now in her car, alone, save for her Justin Timberlake tickets, Jennifer would at some point make a call to the Radiological Associates of Sacramento, where she worked. One of her coworkers, Laura Roos, would be the one to pick up the phone. As Laura recalls, Jennifer told her that her head was in excruciating pain, that she needed to head back home, that she wouldn't be able to work, and she was crying. This was the last time that anyone would ever speak to Jennifer again. It was a few short hours after the contest had ended. Upon hearing that her daughter had not made it into work, and upon now not being able to reach her, Jennifer's mother headed to her daughter's home to make sure she was all right. Except that for this family, for Jennifer, for her husband Billy, for her mother, for her 3 young children, things would never truly be all right again. Inside her Rancho Cordova home, Jennifer's body lay dead. Efforts to resuscitate her would prove futile, and her time of death was estimated to be at approximately 2 p.m. An autopsy later determined her cause of death was hyponatremia, or water intoxication. Word of the tragedy spread quickly, and quickly fingers would start to point in the direction of the radio station, KDND, The End. Perhaps in the hope of deflecting some of the negative attention away from their own selves, the higher-ups at Entercom were quick to terminate a total of 10 station employees whom they deemed to be connected with the Hold Your Wee for a Wee catastrophe. Included among these 10 people were all 3 regular hosts of the morning rave, Adam Lucas Cox, Stephen Manny, and Patricia Sweet, often known as just Trish. Just prior to this, a public statement had been issued along the lines of expressing extreme sorrow for the death of Jennifer Strange and, of course, for the Strange family's loss. This seems to have been somewhat almost immediately negated, however, when at least one of the 3 main hosts would go on record to assert that the contest was not their fault and that they had only been following orders.
Radio DJ Lucas, whose real name is Adam Cox, says he carried out the contest on management's orders. He says he didn't believe it was potentially deadly.
I really don't think that we did anything wrong. We just did our jobs.
The woman is dead.
Yes.
You lost your job, but she lost her life.
Correct. I feel horrible for her and her family. Absolutely horrible that one of our listeners died. And never thought for 1 second that we were going to get fired. Not for 1 second did I think that we were going to get fired.
And why not?
Because it wasn't our fault. We didn't do anything wrong. We just did what we were told to do.
In 2009, 2 years after his wife's death, Jennifer's husband, Billy Strange, filed a wrongful death suit against the station and the Entercom Corporation. The lawsuit claimed damages for emotional suffering and loss of companionship, among several other things.
The youngest boy, Ryland, is asking his grandmother, when's Mommy coming home? And there's just no way to really answer that question in a fashion that's satisfactory to a 3-year-old.
It took a jury of 7 men and 7 women 9 days to return with a unanimous verdict, stating that they felt the station itself, KDND but not Entercom, was negligent and 100% at fault and responsible for Jennifer Strange's preventable and premature death. The Strange family was awarded slightly over $16.5 million in damages.